So whether you are a new agent, an experienced agent, or honestly just an entrepreneur in general, I just got done recording a podcast with Jan Kimbrough. She's actually a real estate agent and team leader in Colorado with REMAX. And she has a new training program that you can definitely, she's offering a discount. So make sure you take a listen to everything that she has to offer. It's over 50 years of real estate experience. And again, as we talked about in our episode today, that you don't have to be a real estate agent to learn from real estate agents on how they do sales and marketing and things like that. So definitely take a listen. She's going to give you a code to be able to get a discount on her trainings and stuff. She gives 3 good points throughout that training, and then it's for a very low fee. And then if it's something that you like and you want to buy more, you can obviously purchase more from her program. But she shares a lot of good information and expectation, especially as an agent who's been in the business for over 18 years with a combined experience of over 50 years between her and her brother and her team. So take a listen. Would love to know your thoughts. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review so we can get this out to more people. And it gets out there to not only just real estate agents, but also any of those mompreneurs out there. Hello, fellow mompreneurs. Welcome to the Real Moms Podcast, the go-to space for resilient entrepreneurs who are striving for abundant living. I'm your host, Shay Spitz, a mompreneur and a realtor here in Columbus, Nebraska. Are you a mom juggling the hustle of entrepreneurship, family life, and personal growth? Well, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we dive deep into the real, unfiltered stories of incredible women who are navigating the journey of mompreneurship. We'll celebrate the victories, share practical insights, and acknowledge that it's okay to face challenges along the way. Success isn't about the destination. It's about the journey and the growth we experience as we balance our careers and the chaos of family life. Whether you're a seasoned mompreneur or just starting on this exciting path, join me and our amazing guests as we explore what it truly means to be a resilient entrepreneur striving for abundant living. Get ready for real, raw, and remarkable conversations that will inspire and uplift you. Because here at the Real Moms Podcast, we believe in the power of community, authenticity, and the strength that comes from embracing the journey together. So grab your coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's dive into the world of mompreneurship. This is the Real Moms Podcast, where we celebrate the hustle, honor the struggle, and thrive as resilient entrepreneurs living abundantly. Welcome to another episode of Real Moms Podcast. I like to start every podcast off with a motivational quote, and today's quote is, "I've lived through many crises in my life, most of which never happened." So today's guest is Jan Kimbrough. She is the She is the co-founder of Expectation Selling and team leader of the Kimbrough team at REMAX 4000 Incorporated, the #1 team in Mesa County, Colorado. Jan transitioned from a successful medical career to real estate, building her business on trust, clear communication, and efficient systems rather than traditional sales tactics. She now teaches professionals to have a thriving real estate career and work-life balance through expectation selling. Please welcome Jan Kimbrough Miller, an inspiring expert in relationship-driven success. So Jan, welcome to the Real Moms Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So my first question is, what did you do in the medical field?
My degree is in occupational therapy, so I owned outpatient orthopedic physical therapy clinics in Colorado.
Wow, that's awesome. So are you native to Colorado then?
No, actually, Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Really? So what brought you to Colorado?
Long ways from home.
Yeah. So what brought you to Colorado then?
Oh, my father moved here. Our family moved here when I was in high school. And I left really quickly thinking it was the worst place in the world just because it was, high school. That's a bad time to move. And when my husband and I had our daughters, we were thinking, where's a great place to live that would let us have a really balanced lifestyle? And I ended up back here when my kids were little. So it's been the family joke. I couldn't wait to get out of here. And then I came back, and yes, it's been wonderful. Been back here 30 some years.
And never left, huh?
Yes, that's right. I'm here.
Your family's still there then too, like your parents and stuff?
Yes, my kids are here, grandkids. I've got 2 sisters still in Florida, but otherwise pretty much everybody's here.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, medical career, what brought you into the medical career? And you owned some of your own practices? Is that what you said?
Yes, I have partners in them, but yes. I am just a helper person, and so that field of medicine, I thought either special ed or occupational therapy, and OT just allowed a lot of. I like a lot of realtors. I thrive on lots of different things going on in the day, and OT was perfect for that. So built a business kind of unintentionally. I mean, intentionally, but unintentionally. And just my brother got into real estate and invited me to join him. And it was just a good time in my life. To, it's like, I can use a shift. I could use a shift. I, it would still give me all the people contact I want and that kind of thing. So that's how I got into real estate.
So, you've been 18 years medical field and now 18 years real estate, huh?
Yeah, there's probably a little more somewhere in there on each side, but yes, long time.
Right. So did you just go like 100% into the real estate career when you decided to do it, or did it kind of like just kind of evolve over time?
It was pretty quick, but I was really scared about it. I don't know, I was real scared about it. I did need to make a life shift because of that lack of work-life balance. My one of my clinics was an hour and a half one way from home, and I was doing a lot of road time and stuff, and so I really needed a shift. And I was super scared about it because you envision or I did, the stereotypical salesperson, and it's like that is not me. I'll not, can I even do this job? But I thought, oh, I'm smart enough. I'll work hard enough. I'll figure it out, and I made the leap. So it was pretty quick. It took me a year to kind of transition out, sell the businesses, get them all set up, and I actually started as my brother's assistant before I got my license. So
Wow.
my little brother's assistant.
Kind of hard to say sometimes, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it's all good.
Yeah, and then you got your own license, and then you are now running your own team.
Well, actually, my brother and yeah, I did get my license like a year in,
Yeah.
and we started hiring support staff, and my brother and I together still, manage our team, which is we're small, but just do a really large volume of business.
Right, that's amazing. That's amazing. I am more of like I'm an independent agent. I have a couple agents like underneath me and stuff, but I don't have a team. But it just makes it for me. It just feels like a lot more personal.
Hmm.
I'm not having to like diversify and keep everybody happy as an agent. Because I believe that an agent's success is your success, and your failures
Yeah,
are your failures. I feel like when you have a
yeah,
big team and you're taking more money from people, they expect more from you, and it's a whole thing. But
yeah.
I know I mean, people can obviously be very successful with all of that. So, how did that transition look for your family life? Was it hard? Was it easier? What was that? Kind of walk me through that.
Well, I think anytime you do a big transition like that and it's the complete unknown, it's, I mean, it was probably scariest for me. My family was, I think, really happy that I was doing it because then I was more available. I wasn't traveling so much every day. My hours were not as long, although somehow, you fit it all in, whether it's that you don't go to bed till 1 and you get up at 5. I mean, you fit it all in. But no, my family, it was not a hard transition, I don't think, for my family. It was just more scary for me because, you go from being like a lot of people in real estate, this is their second career. You go from being at the height of whatever your first career is, you're the expert, to being like, I don't even know how to work the copier. I don't know how to do anything. And that's a terrible feeling, sometimes. So that was scary.
It is. It is. I remember my first day on the job as a real estate agent. I went 100%. So, and then you walk away from the security of consistent income
Right,
to 100% commission, the unknowns. But I remember
right.
sitting in my cubicle almost 7 years ago, thinking, now what? Like I was thinking there was a list of sellers and a list of buyers that I could just pick and choose from, and
Yes.
it's not like that at
No.
all. Unfortunately, it was a little bit of a rude awakening, and that was like you, I mean, probably yours was obviously further than that. There wasn't online leads. You didn't pay for
No,
stuff. It wasn't as easy maybe as it is now. So
right.
it was a lot more legwork, a lot more door knocking and cold calling, or I guess what did you do to kind of get your business off the ground?
Well, I was actually really fortunate that way because my little brother, he had come from a pharmaceutical background, had really a wonderful sales training. So he had been in the business about a year and a half and was quite busy. So, and he had little baby twins at the time. So we decided, okay, let's split it up. I mean, I had to get the systems in place. He's not a systems guy. I'm a systems person. I had to get all the systems in line. But it's like after that, it's like let's split this up. He did the sellers because that can be a more predictable schedule when you have 6-month-old twins. Um, and I took care of the buyers because my kids were older and those hours can be more fluctuating. And so we kind of did that way. But he kind of had this existing business he had started and ramped up. But you're right, there was no like online anything. You were cold calling, you were, picking up signed calls from, every time they came in. You were farming, you were asking everybody, anybody who's buying or selling a house,
Mhm.
it was it was a lot of footwork, like you're saying.
Right. And there was a lot, I would imagine that there was probably more. I'm assuming you probably had brick and mortar where people could walk into your business. You don't get that as much as you did back then. I actually had somebody walk in on Monday, literally walk to the door and knock and be like, "Yeah, are you in real estate?" I'm like, "Yes." What? Like, it was so weird. Like,
That's,
you don't get walk-ins anymore. They're like, "Well, we want to buy a house." I'm like, okay, let me get your information. They were just like totally caught me off guard anymore. I'm not used to that anymore, even though I have a physical location for
right.
the office, but
Yes.
it does get a
So
little
the
bit
first buyer screening tool. Do you have email? If you're showing up at the door, do you have a computer? Do you use yes.
scary.
Like, it's a
Yeah.
little bit scary there too.
Yes, yeah, they were Spanish speakers, so I have an agent in my office who speaks Spanish, so I wasn't able to help them because
Yeah.
tried to speak Spanish, I've tried the Babbel stuff, and I did 2 years in high school. It just doesn't click for me. It's just
Yeah.
I'm just so impressed by anybody who can speak more than one language. It is just so impressive to me.
Yeah, I'm always really worried about the liability part too. Even if I think I can, if it's my second language, it's like, what if I miscommunicated something or misunderstood something? It's like, oh, yeah. So you're fortunate to have a Spanish speaker in in your team.
Big difference, big
Yeah,
difference. So tell me, okay, now you and your husband have been together how long?
42 years.
42 years. So I would
Yes.
imagine 18 years of being married with the medical field and then 18 years now with the real estate, especially that first transition. Like, how did your relationship with your husband, was that affected? Was it hindered? Was there a struggle at all?
You mean when I switched from medical to real estate?
Yeah.
Actually, what's interesting? I must have been in both of these fields longer than that because he and I met in college and we got married during spring break my sophomore year. I mean, no, during Christmas break my sophomore year. So he was with me through all of it from graduating and the whole thing. No, he just was the relationship part was more of a struggle before the switch because he was taking on all the mom role
Hmm.
because a lot of days I was traveling like a lot of families do. I think men have gotten this my age may show, but I think um, the traditional roles have kind of blended a little bit more over time. But he was the Mr. Mom before people were Mr. Mom. I've got my daughter's school pictures. I mean, their hair is crazy because he fixed it. He did fix it, and it was, he did all the stuff. So it was much harder in our relationship before after I'd built that kind of business up because if you're not careful, it's just like real estate, it takes you over and you're successful and you feel like you've got to cater to everybody, whether it's employees or realtors or clients. So the transition was actually, despite the financials, like how are we going to do this? Am I going to be able to make the amount of money that maintains our lifestyle like it is? The relationship got actually easier. I mean, he's definitely the better of the two of us. He's my better half for sure, but it got easier.
Yeah, I mean, I really think, especially in the real estate career or any career as an entrepreneur, having that significant other or somebody else to support you, I
Hmm.
think can really be a make or break because the entrepreneurship world is so tough,
Hmm.
or it can be extremely difficult, and it can be very lonely. And if you
Yeah.
don't have that significant other who's on board and supports you in your career and your endeavors, I would imagine that it would be very challenging. My husband and I, it was a little bit of a shift. Me working, I was always
Hmm.
taking the kids to school, picking them up, making supper, and he was leaving early and coming home later. So when I got into real estate, that shifted a little bit. I
Hmm.
was needing him to step in, and it was a little bit of a challenge for the first few years. And it's obviously it keeps changing. Now he
Right.
also has his real estate license, so we're
Uh,
both. I mean, we definitely have more time with the kids, I would say. Like last week, it was negative 30 degrees here in Nebraska, and our kids did not have one single day of school
oh
last week.
my God.
Not one.
Oh my God.
One.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can imagine how challenging that was to do work. Between my husband and I, we just tag teamed it, and I don't know
Yeah.
what people do like in the medical field when you have to be somewhere. Like you don't get that
Yeah.
option. Like, you have to be there.
Yes. Yeah. And that part was hard. So my husband was so good at doing Mr. Mom, although he had his full-time career. He had a bit more flexibility with it. But the stuff they have now with kids, like, okay, early release Wednesdays or whatever, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know how, I mean, I just really don't know how people did it. Even when my kids were little, the bus came to my clinic and dropped my
Oh,
kids off at my clinics. They would come in, have a snack, and start helping me with chores in the clinic. And it's just
yeah.
but I don't know how I would have done it nowadays.
Right. Well, and I mean, that's amazing to be able to have the bus, be able to drop them off. So
Yes.
it takes a village, not just in your
Yeah.
family, not just in your business, but like your school, like them being
Yes.
willing to drop them off at
Yeah.
your clinic, which is amazing. So I want to go back to your quote. I've lived
Yes.
through many crises in my life, most which have never happened. Explain to me a little bit more what you mean by that.
That is the quote that I live by. Basically, what that is intended to communicate is that we get so thinking about all the bad things that are going to happen, or all the what ifs, and stewing over things. We actually live through the crisis, and then it just never happens. Things don't always. You spend so much energy, you know, uh, and stressing out over all these things that in actuality never happen. And it's like if I had learned to release some of those things earlier, it would have been, more helpful for me, because I am one of those people who I think through all the details ahead of time and all the what ifs. And it's like, I really don't need to do that. I need to just rest in, I've done the best that I can. Things will play out. I will figure it out, if it happens. Not lose sleep or have lack of focus on things that are really important because I'm stewing over something that in actuality never ends up coming to fruition.
Right. I heard a quote. I've really been working on myself over the last, I don't know, 3, 4 years, and I sleep so good anymore. My husband doesn't sleep. I never used to be able to, 'cause I feel like my mind was always wandering. But I feel that I have done such a good job as what you just said, not worrying about the things, the what ifs and everything like that. Because I heard a quote from Rob Dial. He has a podcast as well. It's called The Mindset Mentor. I absolutely love that one. It has
Mhm.
changed the way I think about things
Mhm.
180. But he had made the comment like 85% of the things that we worry about never actually come true,
Yes,
and only 3% of that 15% actually happen the way we imagine it.
right.
And like I was like, oh my gosh, like we build up
Yes.
our own stress. We
Yes.
build up all these things in my mind. And I remember when a couple years ago I decided to make the transition to a different brokerage. And my husband is a very analytical thinker. He is always, I shouldn't say always, but he does think about like the what ifs, like
Mhm.
what could go wrong. He thinks about all those things.
Right.
And him and I went back and forth and back and forth. And he's like, well, you got this. And if you don't, you're going to have to do this, this, and this, and this. And I finally, like, so it was, I mean, it went on for months. And finally I was like, no, I'm doing this. And I said, Adam, I don't need you to point out the negative. I don't need you to point out the things that could go wrong. I understand them. I'm not going to focus on them. I said, this is where I want to go, and I
Mhm.
need to make this change if I want to go there. So I just need you to be on board and say, hey, Shay, whatever happens, happens. We got this together, and I'm going to
Yeah.
support you no matter what. And he was like, okay, all right, well, let's do this. And it was tough. The first 3-4 months of the transition
Mhm.
was so hard. I cried a lot. I cried a lot before and after,
Mhm.
and a lot. And my husband was there to support me. Like we got through it, and you can't focus on the negative because where your energy goes, your
Yeah.
focus flows, or whatever
Yeah.
that word is. I think it's
Yeah.
Tony Robbins. But yeah, if you focus on negative, you're gonna get negative.
Yes.
You
Uh-huh.
focus on opportunity and abundance, like that's what you're
Yeah.
gonna get. So
Yeah. Well, I think it also just keeps you from focusing on all of the positives and the things that you could be spending time and energy doing that are positive. Even it consumes you in a negative way. So I wish I'd learned that earlier.
yeah, well, and I'm sure in like even real estate or any sort of entrepreneurship, if for the listeners, like if you are in a situation where you feel other people are trying to sabotage you or take you
Hmm.
down or they're talking bad about you or they're spreading rumors, like I've heard rumors about me and I'm like, huh, well, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know I had that much time on my hands. Like, okay, cool. I don't take that as an insult anymore. Like I'm just more like, oh, I'm glad I am well known enough that I was part of your conversation today. Like
Yes.
whatever. I'm over it. I don't
Yeah.
care because your problem with me is not my problem. I'm gonna sleep
Yeah.
just fine at night. But for the listeners who have experienced that, and I'm sure you've had that situation because real estate can be a cutthroat situation.
Yeah.
Um, but when you focus your energy on what somebody else is doing and you're focusing on them, you're taking away from what you're able
Yeah.
to do and your capacity and your capability.
Right.
Have you had a situation where you've had to deal with negative realtors? Never, never, huh? Never, right?
Oh, no, never. No, we're the big. We're kind of, our team is kind of the whatever the saying is, the gorilla or whatever in the market. And so agents are always picking at us. It's like, is there sign up before it hits the MLS? Is there sign down by the time it's sold? Report, report, report. It's like, I've never had a bad, face to face, or very few.
Right.
It's more the kind of behind the back thing. It's like, why don't they just text me if they have an issue or if I've gotten something wrong? It's like, I don't know why they have to do that, but it's like, whatever. I mean, you just can't give it energy.
No, you can't give it an energy because I'm just thinking, gosh, that's a lot of work for them to go through just to report me. So I
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that they feel that I am worth that energy. But in all reality, like you said, like just text me. Like we're gonna make mistakes. I'm human. I've made a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
mistakes. So just text me. Like, hey, I noticed this on the
Yeah.
MLS. That's wrong. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And it's gotten to the point that I think, for me anyway, agents will come to me and just text me if I make a mistake,
Yeah. Yeah.
versus reporting me because I think
Yeah.
that they've also learned that I don't care. It's not going to
You're right.
affect. It's just the craziest thing. But I mean, the first probably 3 years of me being in real estate, I had some agents who I was doing really well, especially as a new agent, that so much of their focus and energy went to
Yeah.
me that anything I did, they would report me to the state. And it
Yeah.
got to the point, like, it has been 6 months since I have been reported to the state. Something's got to happen.
That's-
What are we doing? Come on, somebody report me for something. But
yeah.
you almost have to take it as a compliment and
Yes.
not let it bring you down.
Yeah. And because some people are just going to be that way. If that same agent who's sitting there digging through the MLS for people to have the wrong area in the description, if they spent that time just building their business, their life would change. but they're just going to be built that way, to.
Right. I know. I just had a situation not too long ago come up, and I noticed something that an agent was doing, and I didn't want to complain because if we can do that, I wanted to be able to do it, you know? So
Right.
I asked our MLS administrator, I was like, hey, this is what's happening. Can I
Yeah.
do that too? Because it would be a benefit to my sellers. And she's like, no, we can't do that. I was like, oh, okay. She's
Yeah.
like, well, who's doing it? And send me a screenshot. I'm like, I don't
Uh,
really want to. She's like, well, just let me know so we can address it. I'm like, okay.
right.
And then she came back and she's like, well, do you want to file a complaint? I'm like, no, like that was
Yeah.
not the intention
No.
of my conversation. I said, no, absolutely not. I didn't even want to include the person's name because I don't
Right.
care. I just wanted to know if it was possible because I was on the MLS committee and I didn't think it was. Because if it was, I wanted to do that for my client.
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was like, no, I already told you from the beginning, I don't want to file a complaint. I don't care about that side of things. Like it's just
No.
mind blowing. But yeah, so tell me a little bit more about where your business is at now and where you see it going.
Oh, that's an interesting question. So we still, my brother and I, we still have our real estate team that does real estate. We have 5 agents and 3 assistants, and have a very very systemized. Systemized business so that we can do a high volume with very few people. I mean, that number of people will do 150 million in volume. So we're very systemized. So we've kind of expanded with an agent who used to work for us. He was a young guy, and he was it was his first job really in real estate, and he was with us for 18 months or so, mentoring him and this and that. He left and kind of did something else for 5 or 6 years, a mission trip, got married, had a kid, and got back into real estate. So came back and said, you know what, I've now seen other people do real estate, and how you guys do it is not how it's normally done. You guys need to figure out how to share this with people and teach other agents. So we've kind of started another thing with him to try to help other agents systemize their business and kind of get that work-life balance. That it's not just about scaling up and doing more business, because some people want to, like him, Mason. He wants to, I mean, he'll say his goal is to work 15 or 20 hours a week. He wants to make a good living so he can spend time with his daughter and his wife, which is the opposite of me. I'm kind of old school workaholic, get up and exercise and get to work, and I feel bad if I'm not working. So it's been fun to do that. So we have launched that expectation selling. So always just trying to, learn new things and share with other agents, which is part of why that whole thing about reporting agents in a negative way is mind-boggling to me, because I just really never want to be that person. I just want to help the other agents be
Right.
better.
So what are some systems that you guys implement that would help some of the agents out there, or even if you have systems that, because I think even other entrepreneurs, systems and processes are a make or break in a business on being able to scale while still having your time. So what are some systems that you guys use?
So for example, one of the ones that I kind of established early on, because I am a systems person. You're right. The key to it, I figured out real quickly, because I was leaving that medical thing where my life was not in balance. Wanted to get it in balance, so I didn't want to repeat all my same mistakes. It's like, what do I have to do different so that and the key to that balance is having systems and being able to establish basically social contracts with every client very early on, so everybody knows what to expect. But so a quick system is when I get somebody under contract, I have a thing called a task list, and literally it's a 1 page. It's like, here's the deadline, here are your contacts. This is what's going to happen. You follow everything on this sheet. You take care of this stuff. I will take care of everything else. If it's not on this sheet, you don't have to deal with it. So they literally, I tell them, print it out, put it on your fridge, because if you do this, you'll get to closing, we'll be fine. So it eliminates tons of phone calls about, people going through their contracts and trying to figure out who they're supposed to contact for an inspection. Am I going to set it up? Are they going to set it up? Who do they call? I mean, all of those things. So all those phone calls that you typically get over the course of a transaction, about 80% of them don't happen because they have this task list that they just need to go look at the task list.
Right. Yeah. So it's something to reference back and forth on. Now, you said you have 3 assistants. Do you have any virtual assistants, or are they all like in-person assistants?
So I have one assistant. They're all in person. We don't use any virtual. Yeah. Yeah. So my brother has one, I have one, and then we have a group of several buyer specialists, and they have one.
Nice. Okay. Okay. So you guys kind of, have you ever tried a virtual assistant? I don't have one. I am more of an in-person, like I like the personal relationship thing, but I do know a lot of agents do use VAs. Have you ever tried using one, or is that even something that you'd ever consider?
I haven't ever tried one, and it would be hard for me to do. I actually share my little office with my assistant
Yeah.
because there's so much that happens as I hear her on the phone, she hears me on the phone. And when you carry a lot of volume, and I work with builders, a lot of builders, new residential construction, there's a lot of moving parts, people's finishes and all this stuff. So it would be hard. I think I would struggle with a virtual assistant.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree, especially when you're doing so high volume. Like my transaction coordinator, I should say, but she does a lot of the physical stuff. Like she'll put the signs out, put the sign
Uh-huh.
writers out, she'll put the lock
Uh-huh.
boxes on. Like obviously for a virtual assistant, you can't have that. So
Right.
I'm definitely willing to pay more for somebody who can do that because that's not where my time is best spent. I
Exactly.
also would forget. So she's more of a task-oriented person. I'm more of like, hey, I don't know. I'm like a bigger vision, but
Yeah.
it's to be
Right.
task-oriented as well.
Right. Yeah. So that way everybody does what they're good at. Yes.
Yes. I
Right.
know where my weaknesses are, and especially like in entrepreneurship, one of the hardest things that I felt was leveraging other people, taking that leap of
Yeah.
faith to trust somebody else to do stuff in your business, because we always have this mentality like I do it best.
Yeah.
Well, I have come to find out that no, I don't do that best. Like I have my strengths, but I certainly have my weaknesses, and I give my weaknesses to other people. The first time I decided to hire somebody, it was a little tough, because it cuts into your income, but it
Uh-huh.
will eventually you should be able to not only grow your
Yeah.
business, but be able to spend more time either doing those income producing activities or more time with your family.
Well, I think that's one of the key things about how our team is set up, because we have just taken that mentality of, okay, what is everybody's skill set? And instead of doing a traditional structure to our team, we had coaches that are like, this is not going to work, but somehow we're, in the top 50 to 100 REMAX teams worldwide every year in this little tiny market. It does work. But that is part of the basis of how our team is built, is just not everybody can't be everything to all people, or you cannot scale, and you can't have balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't be the photographer, the transaction coordinator,
Right.
the stager,
Yes.
the agent, the marketer. Like,
Pounding a sign, then going and showing. Yeah. I mean, you can, but you'll never really maximize your potential with that structure.
right, right, exactly. So, how long have you been doing your expectation selling? What does that look like when somebody can it be somebody outside real estate, or is it mainly directed towards real estate agents?
So right now it's mainly directed toward real estate agents, and we are just now launching that and getting it off the ground. It's basically an online training with a, for lack of a better word, a guidebook, a workbook to help people kind of shift their paradigm of, because it's a different way of thinking about real estate and customer service.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an online course. Then we've got an augmentation piece that is, if people want to just use our systems, it's all of those systems. It's like video scripts for, it's the template for the task list. It's all of the implementation of the systemization that's an add-on.
That's amazing. So where would somebody go to learn more about that or join?
So they can go to our website, expectationselling.com. And for your podcast listeners, we've got a little a discount thing that's expectationselling.com/discount. And what we've done is our team has kind of picked out what we feel like are the three biggest time sucks for agents,
Yeah.
and shown agents, here's how you solve that. Very simple steps. Solve these three big time sucks and you will see immediate change in your home life and your work life. So if they go to the expectationselling.com/discount, it's like $30. I mean, it's very inexpensive. They can get a taste of this is what this is about. They can get a feel for us.
Right. And I think, especially if you're a newer agent, definitely take advantage of that. Like dive in there, go take advantage of that. It's a very low cost. Don't think of things like that as like, what is this going to cost me? You need to flip the script and say, what can I gain from this? How much can this $30 of investment in time make me in the future? So definitely get in there, utilize this program. And then obviously if you find value in that $30, there's going to be a ton more value on the backside to be able to utilize this course. So don't be afraid, get in there, utilize it, and it is absolutely amazing. I'm also going to dive into it as well. So I appreciate you offering that to myself and the listeners as well. So give me an example of how you might expedite the process of a buyer finding the perfect home, because you hear those horror stories of agents showing 30, 40, 50 homes to buyers and then they just get to buy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that never happens. I mean, two quick things. This sounds so simple, and some of these things are so simple. When I combine two things sometimes. One is called a mystery tour. So instead of you setting your people up on a search and then they tell you, yeah, we want to see this one, that one, this one, I talk with them about what they want, and then I pick houses that I'm going to show them. So it's usually just 4. And I don't tell them why. I don't want them looking at them on the internet. I don't want them driving by to say, oh, we don't like that neighborhood or whatever. It's like, I'm going to show them because I have an agenda. And that's what I tell them. It's like, this is a mystery tour. You're not going to know where we're going, why we're going there. None of these are going to be your perfect home, most likely. But I have a reason for taking you here. So I do that to help. I do this to help get let's say it's spouses, husband and wife. They think they're on the same page, but after 15 showings, you realize they're not on the same page. I want to figure that out really quickly up front. Get them on the same page, because they don't even know they're not on the same page. So I take them to specifically 4 houses after I hear their criteria, and I have them rate the house after we leave. 0 to 10. 0 is you would not live in this house if it were the last one in the area, and 10 is it is perfect. We're unlikely to find a 10. Hopefully we don't find a 0, but somewhere in there. And it's just a gut thing. The husband and wife, let's say that's what it is, they don't have to have the same number. So what happens is you're at a house where, let's say, he wants acreage and she wants something else that conflicts. It's like, and they rate it, it's like you have a conversation right there to determine, how is this a 3 for you? How is this a 7 for you? And they actually surprise themselves. They're like, I can't believe that's a 3 for you. Why would that be a 3 for you?
Right.
So it saves a ton of time trying to figure out what they want and them figure out what they want together. So once I do that, I've got it, because I can find it. 9 times out of 10, they'll buy something I pick, not something they pick.
Right.
So then when their Aunt Betty calls and says, hey, there's a new house in our neighborhood and you got to come see it, instead of them calling me saying, hey, we got to go see this, when can you go see it? Aunt Betty says it's going to be great. They're like, we trust you. Look at that. If it's any good, let us know, but we trust you. You know what we want. Right. And so that keeps you from flying out of your chair, because they know you spent the time to help them figure out what they want and help you figure out what they want. So, I mean, I have them under contract usually in 5 to 7 houses, no more.
Right. 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 What was the second one?
The second, oh, the combination of the 0 to 10 and the
Oh, I
mystery
got
tour.
you. So you
Yeah,
had the mystery tour and then the combination of the
yeah,
0 to 10. Okay, I really like that idea. I really like that idea. One of the things that I have found for me is that I honestly, I probably, it sounds so simple, but I tell my buyers like, hey, especially when they're buying to find their first home or their forever home, whatever, it's an
yes,
emotional buy. So I tell buyers like, it honestly should take you about 8 seconds to know if it feels
right,
like the right one. If
yeah,
you walk in and you're just like trying to convince yourself of it, it's not. It's
yeah,
not the right one. Let's move on.
yeah,
And I would say I usually get buyers under contract within 4 to 6 or 7
yeah,
transactions.
yeah,
Like it is weird. People, you're making one of the biggest purchases of your life and you can make a decision in 8 seconds. Like
yeah,
that sounds crazy, but
yeah.
it is. Like it's when you walk in, you could just feel it. So
Yeah, one of the things I have found over time is, and when you get to those people who maybe you've shown them 20 or 30, a lot of times you find, and maybe it's because my husband's a family therapist, you find that their issue about finding a house or settling on a house has nothing to do with the house. It has to do with control and power and dynamics that are under the surface that unless you help identify those and work through them early, you're going to be stymied. They're never going to settle. They're never going to settle on something because it's not about the house.
Nope, it's not. And
Yeah.
that kind of reminds me of I have a situation or had a situation where I had some buyers. It was a Zillow lead. I showed them one house, so I didn't waste a bunch of time. But they were dead set. Like they wanted to make an
Hmm.
offer. I went looked at their house and we came up with the price. But then after they submitted their application, they just kind of like ghosted me and the lender. And they said, nope, we're not interested in buying anymore. Like they were dead set on making an offer.
Hmm.
But what I really think is what happened is that there ended up being like $18,000 of credit card debt that I'm
Hmm.
guessing one of the spouses did not know about.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that probably I've had two other circumstances here recently where they both knew that there was credit card debt, but they didn't realize how much.
Yes.
And both times they were both sitting in my office, so we were able to work through that. I just ripped off the band-aid like, hey, this is how much it is.
Yes.
Whereas the other one, they were on at their own house, so I wasn't able to
Right.
talk to them through that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. I don't know for sure, but I think because I mean they were dead set, they were ready to sign,
Uh-huh.
they had all the paperwork, and then they're like, no, we're just not ready to make an offer. So,
Yeah.
and when we were in discussion, neither party brought up the fact that they had credit card debt, and then with so I think when they finally got their when the lender ran their credit, they
Yes.
both found out about it. So
Yeah.
I think that was
Yeah.
a shocker for them. But
Yeah.
um,
We have several other kind of tips that, pick three, all kinds of little strategies like that in our training. So,
yeah,
yeah.
that's fun. Yeah, I
Super
think.
valuable to do that stuff up front and kind of learn it early. Learn it early.
Mhm.
You know, we have 50 years of experience built into this course, and it's like, oh my gosh, if somebody who had been able to, if I had learned this in the first year, oh my gosh, it would have changed our business.
Right. And I really do think, I think there's so much value in trainings for real estate agents and
Hmm.
sales and all of that, I mean, even if you're not in real estate, you can truly benefit from listening to
Yes,
podcasts and, things like this that you're offering to help you learn more about business and
right.
systems. It may not be directly
Yes,
associated with you, but it is pretty impressive how much information there is for real estate agents, but then other entrepreneurs don't have that sort of content. So
right,
utilizing any sort of, I've listened to podcasts that had to do with like car salesmen.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like it's kind of all the same thing in
yeah,
a sense.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you just kind of have to relate it to what you're doing. But
yeah.
so tell me, Jan, what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self, or maybe somebody who's newer into the entrepreneurship world?
I think it is just kind of what we talked about to begin with, about just trying to be discerning about where your energy goes, because especially when you're starting up, I mean, everybody's got advice for you, and there is a lot of unknown, and it's can be stressful. So it's just kind of back to, I've lived through many crises in my life, most of which never occurred. Just try to be discerning about where your energy is going, and make sure it's going into things that are going to be positive and productive for you.
Right, absolutely. And start learning young.
Yeah.
Take the $30 and
Yeah.
learn a
Yeah.
little bit. $30 is nothing. Buy
Nothing.
books, read books. It took me 3 years to start reading, and it just
Yeah.
really changes everything. It's a $15 book. Go
Yeah.
get the book and
Yeah.
read it. You got to read it.
Yeah.
Implement
Right.
it.
Right. No, exactly.
I truly appreciate you being here. How kind of refresh everybody, where can they go to get that discount and learn more about your sales, your expectation selling?
Yeah, they can go to expectationselling.com/discount. That will get them there.
That will get them there, and you give them 3 crucial, critical things where they can start implementing today. So
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I truly appreciate you being here, Jan. If there's anybody in the Colorado area, how can they get a hold of you if they're looking to buy, sell, or even becoming a real estate agent or looking to move?
They can just email me at jan@expectationselling.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jan.
Thank you.
And that wraps up another inspiring episode of the Real Moms Podcast. A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their story and insights today. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And hey, sharing is caring, right? Share this podcast with your fellow mompreneurs, friends, and anyone who you feel could use a dose of inspiration. Share it on your social media as well. But most importantly, if you found this episode helpful, please leave me a 5-star review. This helps get our information out to those who have never heard or seen us before. Are you feeling inspired and you're sure that you could add some value to the podcast? Shoot me a message and let's talk. We love hearing from you. So connect with us on social media. Tag me at Shay J Spitz. That's SHAEJ_SPITZ. And share your thoughts and takeaways, or even suggest topics you'd like to have us explore more in the future episodes. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Your resilience is your strength, and your pursuit of abundant living is truly remarkable. As always, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep embracing the beautiful chaos of being a mompreneur. Until next time, take care, stay real, and keep living abundantly.